The way the project was broken down first of all in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was going to take it from basketball at the start of the brake run all the way into the station and out to the mountain. But because there's such a significant amount of work in the mountain itself, we broke that as a separate phase, calling it phase 1.5. So phase 1 essentially is from the brake run all the way down through to the entrance of the mountain. So all these foundations are complete and ready to go. We're waiting for the steel. The station itself, right now that's a temporary electrical room which facilitates a couple of rides for right now. So we need to keep it in place for the operating season. But essentially that'll get migrated into the new station with the plans for the new station. So when we start a new station dig, I would expect it probably right after Labor Day as we get things going. There's a retail shop at the far end which is going to essentially go over and consume that one portion of the shockwave queue. It's fairly sizable. The station itself is quite large. It's about 7 meters or so above this level. Think Leviathan station where it's highly elevated. We needed that extra height to get up and over the crowd and down into the mountain and be able to permit fire trucks to go underneath. There's a certain regulation width and height that we need to have through there. The footings you see out in the plaza area generally are elevated. Some are going to be behind planters, so they'll be about 600 millimeters above grade. The other ones where you'll see south there are about a meter tall. Again, that's basically or to allow for vehicles passing by. If anybody strikes it, we don't want them striking the steel column, we'd rather strike the concrete foundation. It's one of those things that we just have to do. Any questions in this area?
Okay, so you said you're going to be incorporating that building or the equipment in that building into the station, and then adding an extra building there to recap the station. What about the icy stand? Is that going to have to be rebuilt?
There's a stand there. Right now it's undetermined. I'll try and ideally be nice to save, but we have to see how it fits.
Okay.
It's ultimately going to fit.
Does the station have room for 1 or 2 trains?
It has room for 1 train. Right now, with the second part of the train hanging out the back of the station are partially covered. We're still working through those details, but you can ask any train-related questions or queuing or things like that, please say for the other group.
Okay.
My focus has been more the execution of the work and not so much the details. The other group will handle any of those types of details. But anything construction-related, I'm happy to answer.
Is there going to be a transfer track for the ride?
Yes, inside the mountain.
Inside the... Oh, wow.
I'll show you. When we get in there, I'll show you.
All right.
That as well. Forgive the mess. Obviously, it's a construction site. It's not as tiny as I'd like.
That's all right.
Won't cut themselves in the anchor bolts or leave the exposed anchor bolts. So that's why these pretty little boxes are on.
Hey Brent, question for you. Where is the train gonna go through one of these supports here? Which like square is it gonna go through?
That one.
That one here?
Yeah.
The middle one?
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I couldn't predict which one it was. I didn't know. Thank you.
What's the right basketball game stage or going?
So it's gonna go through that square right there. It's so cool.
This entrance ramp in this year, again, it's going to facilitate the maintenance entry into the mountain. So be careful, watch your step. Come over here, get the PPE. Where the ride's going to come into the mountain. gonna dive in. There's one launch outside by the station, just past the station. Dives in here. This is the main launch run down right through here where these machines are. Right now, just so you're wondering, the tarps are there essentially to protect the earth. It's going to rain this weekend. We're going to have a drill right sitting there on Monday doing concrete caissons. We're drilling the caissons. So we're trying to preserve the bank while it's there. There's a series of caissons already installed in here. You can't see, that's what the sand is for. Basically backfill it with sand because there's rebar cages sticking up and out of those. We don't want anybody falling in the hole, so we backfill those. That's what the sand's doing over here. And this area here will be the new maintenance space. This maintenance space is going to support the ride. So it's going to be a shop for the maintenance staff to look after the train. So the main launch run is down through here. And slightly adjacent to it on this side of the column is where we're going to have the storage track for the train. One storage track goes this way, one storage track goes this way, with the transfer track right through here. That's why this is open. The transfer track's going to go here, so it's essentially take the trains over, bump them, and split them off to this side. So this area here is actually going to be depressed, so the maintenance staff can work at it, work from the underside of the train at a good working height. And then it's going to step back up, and this is going to be the maintenance shop in here. The maintenance shop will obviously be populated with desks, workstations for the staff, and obviously look after the train. On this side here, where the machines are on the other side of the launch, is going to be the electrical room. So the electrical room, all the main cabinets are going to be in there. We've got some power packs or battery packs for energy storage that we're going to basically store there, and before we get the train repopulated with power to extend it. And on the other side of that, we're putting in a new transformer in, again, to support the new ride. So, any questions in here? And you can comment how cool the inside of the mountain is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that section right there.
The Guardian drop.
Guardian drop. Okay. Awesome.
Do you know where like the train's gonna like launch out the top around here?
Pardon me?
Do you know where the train's gonna launch out the top of the mountain around here? Like, you know,
Yes,
where
I do. Let's continue this one. Up through here. So this block wall is being removed. The deck and structure above it is being removed, and it's going to go up. That beam is going to be replaced, and then it's up there, and then that's where the ride's going to go up. We can take a look at that once we get up there. But yeah, these cross bracings get bumped up or removed, so obviously this is free and clear. This wall will be opened up. The haunt space obviously will be now occupied with the base of Tower 1, which is Tower 1. Tower 2 is partially on the outside. So yeah, it's going to be quite something.
Are these towers you're referring to, these are like part of the mountain?
No, these are independent for the ride structure itself.
Oh,
the track.
Yeah, right, of the first element, right?
Yeah, so when you look at the video and you see the train coming over, doing a spin and going under Guardians, it basically goes over Vortex, under Guardian. These are the two support towers that basically hold the track.
So we have to do any more cuts in the mountain, like in order for the supports to, besides just the one, it has to have more for the supports.
No, anytime, because there's the main support columns and there's diagonal brace columns. Those diagonal brace columns and any intermediate columns, horizontal, all those will have to have penetrations in the mountain skin in order to facilitate the installation. It's essentially going to be like building a ship in a bottle.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the phrase that we've been using. So
ship in a bottle.
That's one of Peter's favorite phrases.
Yeah, I stole it from him.
Yeah.
Very cool. Question about track shipment. How will we be able to like ship the track into? How are you going to enter? How is the track going to come into the mountain?
Depending on, usually it comes in fairly large bunches. In order to generally stage out in the parking lot, basically cordon off an area of the parking lot, stage the material out and bring it in as needed. That's typically how we do it.
Is it going to come in the maintenance bay over there?
Come in through gate 6 down at the south end. So it'll be the materials will be stored out in the parking lot down at the south end. It'll come in through gate 6 up the back road. We still have that crossover at gates 26 and 27, the white gates, that we'll have to basically populate with security to have road crossings. There'll be constant road crossings.
I bet.
We've got a digital scanner that we've scanned the whole ride area. We've scanned the inside and outside of the mountain, all the different levels. So we've got a pretty good read on that. When you put the 3D model in, you can actually see and it'll tell you where those penetrations need to be. Part of the challenge is not to be too surgical, because you have to create an opening large enough to fit the steel in, that you're not trying to feed it in multiple ways. So, but again, you don't want to create the openings too large, or you've got a lot of rehabilitation to do. Anyway,
how many levels does the mountain have?
There's generally 0 level. If you went back to imperial measurements, it would be, this is 0, this is 4.5 or 15 feet, 30 feet is where the runs at, and the Guardian Station's at 30, Guardian's at 60, which is that level there, and then 90 feet is the cement top, the roof. And again, this one of the things we are going to do, I didn't mention, but this level here, the 4.5 or 15 feet level, we're going to populate with, we're going to do all infill steel and put a secondary floor on top of that, so that we can have future attractions within as well.
Very cool.
So that's all part of the works, and it represents the ceiling of these interior spaces as well.
If I may ask, the video simulation shows the train passing through a tighter tunnel than this. Is that in the works?
It's in the works. It'll be a scenic environment. So as it passes through, and it'll be separate from, say, the facility construction. There'll be a scenic tunnel that the train passes through, and that's it's in design. It'll be somewhat lightweight, but it's going to look very cave-like and intimate as the train passes through. It's all part of the magic.
Better than passing through a warehouse.
Correct. Yeah. As grand as it is, we'd rather people see what we want them to see, as opposed to the beauty of the inside of the mountain.
In terms of like a reset, if you have to relaunch the ride, is it gonna have, do you know if it'll have like a swing launch, like will it go backwards and then forwards and up the mountain?
Yes, that's essentially the plan. It'll go back to launch 1 and then relaunch through launch 2.
So is the train going to be like part of the track, going to be built basically right back around
Roughly from 0 level, which is essentially what we're standing on, about 3 meters below that. Okay. And the other area, the main track area. There's another group right here, which is essentially, there's 1, 2, 3, one over here, there's the open one. It comes up and represents part of the tower. On the other side of this wall, we have 3 more columns, interior columns for the ride, marked on the floor. There's one there, there's one midway down the corridor, and there's one down at the far end, what we'll see.
How many total support columns are included in the ride?
227 foundations, and I think there's 480 column sections. In terms of what that
Here, have a look at the
total,
sheet.
what composite columns are, we have to calculate that.
You want a fact check? I got it.
Yeah, okay. We've got penetrations in the floor, obviously, for the columns to pass through it. So we're going to be looking at doing in the next upcoming weeks. These are elevations set by the surveyor group for vertical control. Any other questions in this space?
This looks familiar.
Okay. We're fencing so that we can actually walk out sort of in the ride space, but it's protected.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
Guardian show is on right now. So our client is the block wall. Here, this is where their coaster is coming up. This is going to be the opening where the coaster passes through. Those other marks along the wall. These are for the support columns to pass through. So these will be framed out, and there'll be openings with guardrails around them ultimately. This is where the train passes through right here. So for those of you who know Guardian well, this is where the storage track was. We bumped the storage track downstairs. We installed this block wall. We're going to complete the block wall all the way to the roof. This will will also be encapsulated with block wall, basically creating a plenum for the ride to come up and through. Obviously, because once the roof is open, we'll be subject to weather. So we have to control obviously the elements as well. So all these surfaces will be weather resistant. This is the opening size the train passes through. What we're going to end up doing is taking off this portion of the mountain exterior skin, obviously to recess it and bring it back, and then put the new skin on the existing block wall. Just directly in behind you in the stairwell we came up is the block wall. So the skin's going to be affixed to that. You come down to prevent these. There's a number of columns here as well.
Wow.
This is where it comes up, and then out over vortex, and then down through there underneath Guardian. So it's actually going to invert and then correct itself while it passes to create like a head chopper moment when it passes through Guardian.
That peak there, will you have to remove that one?
A portion of it probably.
Gotcha.
See, we still have to respect the safety envelope, the clearance envelope for the train. So we tried to keep it as tight as we could, obviously to minimize the amount of weather that goes in, and obviously to create the thrill and the light bleed that's going to come in as well.
And out of curiosity, because of this envelope, is there going to be a max rider height that you know about?
Well, there will be a max rider height. Right now I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Yeah, those are the questions you ask Grace or Peter.
How am I going to press the button?
So back off there. This might be a
Long way down.
Oh, yeah.